grave. Ooh, and she's bothering me. She's still bothering me because she was
Of them. I slept with 2 of them.
That's too many. That's your nephew.
That is too.
Example, if I would tell her about the house, she'll say, you tore up my house.
You tore up.
Hoo-wee, imagine making a funeral arrangement for your late mom with your niece, and then a fight ensues between the both of you, leading to her biting your arm and you having to get surgery. This is definitely one to watch, y'all. Let's check it out.
Thank you, Douglas. Alicia Smith,
Yes.
you are suing your niece, Danielle Smith, for $7,500 in medical expenses and pain and suffering that happened, of all places, while the 2 of you were planning your grandmother's funeral, correct?
The plaintiff, Miss Alicia, claims that on the day the family was making the funeral arrangements, the defendant had an attitude which was due to the fact that her younger sister, whom she's got custody of, wanted to stay with Miss Alicia. Like, I wonder why she had an attitude because of that.
Stay over my older sister's house with me. And I told her it was okay. I had no clue that it was a problem for her to stay there with me that night.
So you took a child she has custody of and brought her to sleep at a different house, and that's what she was mad at?
Yeah.
That was such a really nice thing that the defendant did for her sister. Like, due to their mom's drug problem, the defendant's younger sister was taken from her and placed in foster care. But Miss Danielle took her sister out of foster care and has been taking care of her ever since. Like, props to her.
She was 3 years old. She was in foster care.
Wow.
Because, they took her straight from the hospital. When they took her straight
And
from
your
the
mother
hospital,
never got her back?
No,
Did your mother have a serious drug problem?
she still do.
She still does.
Yes.
Okay, I don't understand this at all. Miss Alicia said she couldn't sign all the papers because the policy was less than the amount that was presented. Then Miss Danielle said she would sign the papers and she told her she shouldn't be there? Like, for her grandmother's funeral arrangements? Like, also, she should have been happy that someone else offered to bear the responsibility when she obviously couldn't do it.
Yell had stated that, give me the damn, can I curse in here? Give me the damn papers. I'ma sign the papers like that. So I turned around. I said, you're gonna talk like that? I said, you're not even supposed to be in here like that.
Why would you say that to your mother's granddaughter?
Oh snap, that sounded like a real dreadful fight. But I'm yet to see what provoked Miss Danielle enough to charge at her aunt and hit her, amongst many other things the plaintiff claims she did. Well, I guess we need to wait to hear the other side of the story.
When I was pulling my arms out, she went to, grab my fingers with her teeth and bit my teeth. So then that's when I grabbed her and I threw her down to the ground. And then my brother came in and he, pulled her up. She had my hair. That's why I don't have no hair on the side.
For real? Do we have a ghost problem too? I feel bad for Miss Danielle. But to be for real, I see the judge's point when she said that. They really shouldn't have let it get to the point where they'd have to start fighting and pulling hair and, biting parts.
Think that Betsy is thinking about this.
Oh, she was rolling over in her grave. Ooh, and she's bothering me. She's still bothering me. Because she was in my house. I had moments, and I have neighbors that would tell you. She's like her.
My thoughts exactly, Miss Danielle, and I expected Miss Alicia to have said exactly this too, considering it was her mother that passed on. Her saying she would only sign one paper but not all made no sense to me at all. Like, what would happen to the other things that needed to be paid for in order to have a successful funeral?
I signed the papers. That's when she came from right here. I was walking to get the pen from off the desk to sign the papers. I don't have the money to sign it, but I would have made sure I would have did anything to make sure that it got paid. That's when she came.
Gotta admire Miss Danielle's honesty, like she's explaining her side of the story while also taking accountability for her actions.
Trying to bite her boobie, because I know women's boobies is the softest spot that you want to let go immediately.
Okay.
But I bit her arm. Once I bit her arm, my uncle came in. He was pulling me up, pulling us apart.
It appears that from the alleged testimonies from 2 other people that were present when the fight happened, their version of what happened seems to align with Miss Danielle's version. Take a look at this.
Said she wasn't going to do it. Danielle said she would do it. Stood up. They exchanged words. Alicia Smith headed towards Danielle. I'm not sure who something the first hit. This is Gloria Smith, sister of Alicia.
Totally agree with what that man said. Frankly, I don't think anyone actually knows how to deal with losing a loved one. Like, emotions get the better of people during this period, and that could lead to really anything.
Deal with the loss. I mean, it's something that doesn't happen every day, so a lot of families don't know how to deal with that situation.
Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
She apologized.
I don't know if it's just me, but if a lot of people in your family have got something against you, doesn't that mean you should probably, I don't know, check yourself? She didn't have a witness to support her side of the story, while Miss Danielle had too. So, the judge's verdict makes sense.
Who exactly hit who, but I saw her charge. And the other one says she charged and she grabbed, corroborating what she says. So I'm not going to find in your favor in the amount of $7,500 because I don't think you've proven it. And you've got a
pictures where
counterclaim
she hit
against
me
her
first,
for
Your
$5,000.
Honor.
Check this out. A woman is dissing her sister for not returning the money she borrowed from her, as well as for stealing another sum of money from her. Oh, this is about to get interesting.
You're suing your sister Alea Payne for $3,224.30 that you say she owes you, that you fronted to her while you were trying to get her to get back on her feet. What happened here?
I haven't really had a relationship with her.
That's pretty valid to me. The plaintiff, who is the defendant's half-sister, offered to accommodate the defendant in her home until she could find her feet. She told the defendant to pay the same amount, which was also being charged to her son. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense if her own kid is paying rent while someone else lives there for free.
Stay with me for a couple months, but you have to pay me $200. And the reason I said $200 is because I have an older son who's 24. He pays $200. I'm not letting another adult in my house who's not going to contribute when I have my own son contributing.
Okay, what now? Like, how did we get here? So the plaintiff claims that the defendant was being destructive when she got to her house. On top of that, she stopped paying her percentage of the phone bill that the plaintiff got for her, and she said she'd pay. And now, as the plaintiff said, she allegedly did the most unbelievable thing because she was jealous. This is sloppy, so take a look at this.
It was one time when Takia and I are talking, she kept interrupting. She decides it would be a good idea to wrestle me, and I had a long dress on. She took her fingers and shoved her finger in my behind, and I pushed her off.
What?
Yes. She said that's how I play.
Okay, so it appears that their father, who's also present at court, had warned the plaintiff not to allow the defendant to come down and live with her because, to put it nicely, she didn't have good moral behavior.
I thought I knew her well, but I mean, I will say that my dad did warn me, and my dad said, don't let her come down. But when he was giving me that explanation that she steals, she lies, she, is ratchet or whatever, he was talking about when she was a teenager. And when she visited.
The defendant's gotta owe her a lot of money. Wait, Uber rides too? Also, I don't know why the defendant thought it made sense to work at a place which paid less than the transport it took to get her there.
Which I told her not to get because it cost $40 to get there and back. She doesn't have a license. She was only making $9 an hour and working 4-hour shifts. So I'm like, you're paying to go to work. It makes no sense.
Right.
But
At this point, I think I'm ready to hear the defendant's side of everything because the allegations against her are a little much. The plaintiff's also accusing her of stealing $1,000.
Cash from the car. She was with me. She's the only one that knew that I had the money, how much money I had, and where it was. The day I went to go make a deposit into my bank account, and I noticed money was missing. But then I remember.
How long did you have money in it?
The defendant claims that she went to see the plaintiff because she got arrested and she needed her as emotional support. Then she extended her stay and lost her job back home as a result. That's totally different from what the plaintiff said.
For 2 counts of grand theft and for $100,000 or more, as well as 1 count of fraudulent use of a credit card. So I found that out and I was like, wow, my sister needs my help. I need to go help her. You know what I mean? She's expressed to me multiple times.
The defendant doesn't believe that she owes the plaintiff money for flight tickets and for her Uber rides to work. That's honestly just kind of a really funny sense of entitlement in my opinion. She also denies stealing the $1,000 from her too.
Was she paying for your Uber rides to and from work?
Yeah, she was.
And you were supposed to pay that back?
No, I was not. She never told me that I had to pay her back for the Uber ride. She said
Why would she fund your Uber rides to go to work? Especially if the whole idea of work is for you to pay.
Okay, what does that even mean? She said she didn't sleep with all of her nephew's friends, but she only slept with 2 of them? How does that make the situation better? The defendant's behavior is just really weird.
How I was acting with my nephew's friends and stuff like that.
Were you sleeping around
And-
with all your nephew's friends? Because that's kind of...
No, I was not
inappropriate.
sleeping with all of them. I slept with 2 of them.
That's too many. That's your nephew.
That is too many. It is,
Okay.
I'm not saying what I did was right. I'm not saying
It seems like the defendant also went through quite a lot while growing up, but at the same time, I don't think picking up the habit of stealing was a good thing. Also, she has a really immature attitude, which she really needs to work on.
And I'm not the type of person to steal from her. I would never steal from her. The only reason why I stole from my father when I was a child is because he was not taking adequate care of me. He wasn't doing anything a parent really should be doing. He was buying music equipment when he should have been buying me necessities like toiletries.
Here's another interesting case with a famous issue of security deposit between a landlord and a tenant. A woman is suing her former landlord for refusing to pay her security deposit after she left the house. So, let's get right on into it.
Says the defendant was so nasty and abusive, she just couldn't take it anymore and moved out. But the defendant says she kept the security because the plaintiff destroyed her newly renovated home. It's the case of losing it over a lease.
You're welcome.
All right, Miss.
The plaintiff claims that the defendant, her former landlord, was really nice to her before she moved in, but completely changed her attitude and started behaving terribly towards her. Like, take a look at what she said the defendant did.
For example, if I would tell her about the house, she'll say, you tore up my house.
You tore up my house?
My house. It was always my house, my this, my that.
Well, it is your house, but...
Yes, but, I mean...
What were
Okay, so the defendant said she completely renovated the house before the plaintiff moved in and even provided pictures of the house as proof. But it seems the plaintiff left the house in a pretty bad state, which was why the defendant kept her security deposit.
So when Ms. Smith moved into my home, I completely renovated. This house was about to be condemned and tore down. I bought the property out of tax deed, and I completely renovated.
May I see proof of your complete renovation from before she moved in? Do you have pictures?
I have a few pictures of before she moved in.
Oh man, that's a really wrong thing to do. Why would you carelessly leave the garbage outside when you're moving out? It took the next person moving in to take the garbage to where it'll be picked up. Like, that's just a bad thing to do.
And then I called the city, and they said that's not the trash pickup, it's around on the front. So me and my children had to move all of that around to the front for the city to come pick it up.
Okay, and then they did?
Yes.
Nobody got fined or anything else? You're not actually out money, that's rude, but you're not out money or anything?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
The defendant also pointed out that the plaintiff has also failed to maintain the lawn, and it was stated in the lease that she was supposed to do this. So let's take a look at why she didn't do it. The odds are really not going in the plaintiff's favor here.
Happened, there was because
Yes,
when
ma'am,
they
I'm looking
moved,
at it.
I understand, ma'am,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the sod that she had put down. That was just some regular grass because I used to pass by the house before I moved in. Pass by the house.
You know
and
your
see.
lease says you're responsible for maintaining the lawn, right?
Okay, but it came back up. I got pictures.
Some of the things that the defendant is saying are the reasons why she withheld the defendant's security deposit. It just makes no sense. Check them out.
HVAC bill, I looked at that, and they had to put Freon in. How is that going to be a tenant's fault?
Well, the condition of it. Did you see she never used the filters. She left them there. The filter wasn't even in it, and then the whole room
Let
was
me just
dusty
tell you,
and
I'm
nasty.
Right? The defendant needs the biggest struggle. You can't be annoyed when the plaintiff doesn't call you about things that needed fixing, only to go back and complain that she always complained. Like, that's just weird.
Every month she would tell me the rent's ready and there's a list. And then when she tells you the list, you're mad that, she tells you the list, but then you're mad that if she doesn't tell you, and you're withholding a bunch of money claiming she didn't tell you. Here's May. Just a reminder, the AC unit is in